Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. My friends, my family, we're 24 hours away from New York Giants football. We're less than 24 hours away from Red Zone, sitting on my couch all freaking day, binge eating potato chips, having a couple beers, having a good old time. It's football season, baby. We are back. We are in it. I am so freaking excited. I cannot wait for hopefully what is to be a positive New York Giants season where we make a playoff appearance and we win the NFC East, and we show all the doubters and haters that we are better than how they think we are going to perform. And a lot of people think we're going to get blown out by Denver this week. A lot of people think that, I saw we've been talking about this one analyst, coming out and saying we're going to lose by 33 points or we're going to give up 33 points. They clearly don't know the defense the New York Football Giants have. And I'm going to sit here and tell you, if we give up 33 points, I'm going to be very disappointed. I'm not going to sleep very well tomorrow night, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to be a lot better. We're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about why Andrew Thomas had a really tough last preseason game, another detail that just emerged that kind of gives an idea of why he struggled so much. Big one, really big one. And we're going to talk about the offense and some injuries. Of course, the offense coming back in full force. Most of our players are going to be active, which is really, really exciting. We're going to talk about those, the impact they do have. But let's jump into Andrew Thomas after we find out, Anthony, how you are today.
I am doing phenomenal today because I know that one sleep from today, I will be watching football, NFL football all day long, and I will be watching the New York Giants play the Denver Broncos at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I am so excited for that moment. We've been waiting for this for months, not only weeks, months and months and months. I've been waiting for this exact moment, and it is finally here. Giants football is back. I get to watch Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Leonard Williams, James Bradbury, all of these guys put on the pads and go face off against another team. That is just so exciting and brings me so much joy to my little heart. So, yes, I am doing really good today, Alex, and I'm definitely ready to break all of this news down, all of that stuff, injury report, and prepare for this game tomorrow. I just can't freaking wait, dude.
You're like the Grinch, man. Your heart starts out so small, and
I've heard that too many times,
big.
and I think that that's like not a compliment, but
Oh no, it's not. The Grinch is an evil old hag. You do not want to be the Grinch, but you want to be the Grinch after he realizes that he cares about Whoville.
That's me now.
That's the
That's
Grinch.
me.
You want to be the better Grinch. He has the bigger heart. So, this Giants football team, my friends, it's a big question mark at a lot of positions. We also have a lot of strengths. We have a very deep wide receiver unit. We have a very deep secondary. We have a strong pass rush. Some Washington fan was in my mentions yesterday trying to act as if, we didn't have a pass rush. And I'm like, dude, like we didn't even have outside linebackers last year, and we ranked 12th in sacks last year with 40 sacks. You know what I mean? Like our pass rush was pretty damn good considering what we had to work with. This year we have Lorenzo Carter coming back, who, according to Patrick Graham, looks like an entirely different player. He's been working with an MMA trainer this offseason to improve his hand placement, hand technique, and strength. Of course, you have Azeez Ojulari, who really was a first-round graded player, landed in the second round. He has a ton of potential. He's like 20 years old, 21 years old, super young and raw. The Giants have a lot of time to really mold him into the player they need him to be. He fits that OLB kind of mold perfectly. And, as a guy with a lot of bend, a lot of speed, and some already quality pass rush moves, I'm really ecstatic to see what he can do moving forward. But Andrew Thomas, I do want to talk about him. This left tackle spot, final preseason game, it did not look good. We saw him give up a pretty decent amount of pressures. He gave up a sack, a hit, three pressures, and a hurry in just 39 offensive snaps, right? So we're after this game, we're like, hold on a second. Do we not have a left tackle now? Is Andrew Thomas a bust? Like, what's going on here? Reports coming out, some people saying the front office is like, oh, this is not who we drafted. Of course, last year he struggled in the first half of the season. Second half got a lot better with his technique. And, Mark Colombo really used more of a vertical pass blocking fundamental. And now this upcoming season, they're using a slide technique, which is a little bit different. So they're not expected to really go 1v1 all the time. They get support from their fellow offensive linemen. But the main reason Andrew Thomas struggled, and, thanks to Zach Rosenblatt of NJ.com, digging up this information, he talked to his mentor, and his mentor Kevin Johnson said you really have to know the reason why he came out looking sluggish. So this is why Josh Uche, who's has one career sack to his name, absolutely obliterated Andrew Thomas. Right? We did not know this previously. This just came out yesterday. Kevin Johnson said he could barely breathe. One thing I told him was, you've got guts and you've got cojones, because most guys would fold. Most guys would say, all right, I'm not playing. He literally was sick. He had multiple IVs due to dehydration. Multiple people close to him said that he was really, really, undergoing some whatever illness the entire week. That's why he didn't play in some of the joint practices. He didn't play this most recent week during practice. He sat out a day, really just kind of walking around. This is the reason why he struggled. He was actually sick. He was getting IV bags. Could barely breathe after the game. He still went out and talked to the media despite them having no idea he was under the weather, and really had a tough time even breathing and standing there and getting through the interviews. But he's a tough guy, man. He did not use that as an excuse at all. I find that to be super valiant of him. He did not use him being ill or sick as an excuse for his performance. He just said, I have to get better. And I really actually admire that about Andrew Thomas. I think he's a great young guy. And I think he's got the work ethic to be a tremendously good player for this Giants offensive line. So it makes me feel a little bit better going into week one, because I know we have a big matchup. Bradley Chubb, ankle issue is definitely bothersome for him. He might be on a snap count. They might be rotating at that outside linebacker spot, but Andrew Thomas makes me feel a lot better going into week one about his status and his strengths. Anthony, when you hear this type of news, this type of illness that he was going through, does this make you feel a little bit more confident as well?
Yeah, sure, it does. I mean, I actually do really respect the fact that he didn't say anything about this, just like you do, Alex. He really didn't make this a deal. He didn't make any excuses. He just said, I have to be better. And he does. He does have to be better. Otherwise, the Giants season is going to go to the toilet. So he's very cognizant of that fact. He knows that he's an important player on this team, and he's not making excuses for himself, despite having a very good excuse. He was to the point where he needed IV. He needed, oxygen. He couldn't breathe. Like, that's obviously a lot to deal with, while also going out there and playing football with full pads on, adding 25 pounds of weight to your body with the equipment, and then also going up against other guys who are literally 300 pounds and just shoving you and pushing you and doing everything they can to get around you. Like, imagine just putting all of that on the same plate and trying to eat it. That's impossible. So it was definitely a tough week for Andrew Thomas. It was a tough performance. A lot of people hit the panic button. A lot of people got really afraid. I probably panicked at least a little bit. I was saying, when is he going to start to turn it around? When is he going to start to pick it up? Well, I thought in week one, he really did turn it around. He looked like a phenomenal player against the Jets in the preseason week one game. He had some reps against Carl Lawson before he went down with a season-ending injury, and he looked very good, and I was very confident in him at week one. Then week three happened, and we all lost all of our confidence. Maybe we were a little too, quick to make that decision, quick to panic. And hopefully we can take this little tidbit of information and say the week one Andrew Thomas is maybe more accurate to what we're going to get during this week one, preseason week one, regular season week one. I don't think preseason week three is going to be what we get in week one of the regular season. I really hope not, because, again, we just covered the Denver Broncos yesterday. They are a strong defense. They have some phenomenal pass rushers. It's going to be a tough matchup for all of our offensive linemen. So Andrew Thomas needs to be on his A game, and so is everyone else on the offensive line, and really the offense in general, because Denver does have a pretty tough defense. So it's going to have to be an A-game performance from Andrew Thomas, and I do think he has that in him. We've seen it in the past. He's had really good performances in his rookie year. He just didn't have enough of them consistently for us to feel super excited about him at the end of the year. But I do think there's time for him to turn it around. I do like the coaching staff that the Giants have built to help the offensive line, and I do really like Andrew Thomas. I think that he has potential to be a tremendous starting left tackle. So this is the year. Let's see if he can prove it, and let's see if he can start this year off with a good performance in week one.
Yeah, I mean, we need him to. There is no, halfway, to being good here. We need him to be a good player, because it really, Daniel Jones depends on it. His future, if he's going to be the franchise quarterback, it all boils down to this offensive line. And that's the worst part about it, right? Daniel Jones can't even do everything to help himself. He's relying on the offensive line to give him the time, to give him the ability to maximize his strengths. And if they don't give him that, he will be gone next season. A new GM will be hired. They will come in and they will boot Daniel Jones to the curb, and they will go and draft somebody else. And Daniel Jones will be sitting there like, it's not my fault. My offensive line's a bunch of Swiss cheeses. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. So I really hope that they do come together. I really hope that, Andrew Thomas finds his groove. It's going to take a couple weeks. He's not going to be a stud right out of the gate, but I think that by week 4 and 5, we're going to see a player, if he remains healthy, knock on wood, that we're going to see a player that we can be proud of, that we can say, okay, Daniel Jones, you don't got to worry about your blind side every play. You know what I mean? You're really hoping that left guard, isn't the biggest liability here. You're hoping that these guys get to an average level. If this offensive line is just average, this offense is going to be pretty good. And that's the reality of it. We have the weapons now, and moving over to those weapons, this week, obviously projected to play Kenny Galladay, hamstring injury. He looks pretty good. I saw some videos and clips on Friday, and he looked like he was running very crisply, so he's ready to go. He said it's going to be a little rusty with him and Daniel Jones to start the season, but so be it. It happens. Injuries do happen, but hopefully they'll get off to a good start. They'll have some design plays for them. And then you have Kadarius Toney, who's an absolute menace. We haven't even seen him on the field yet, really playing, and he has that quick twitch ability that you really like. He has that ability to take one to the house at any moment. He does not go down on first contact. If you're in the open field and you're a tackler, you're not going to get him. You're literally you are going to have your ankle snapped in half. So good luck. Saquon Barkley, obviously on his way back too. They're probably going to be on a snap count. I see him as more of a receiving threat in this game. I see Devontae Booker taking the majority of the hits. I think they want to get Saquon Barkley running around, getting open in the receiving game and acting in that way, which in my opinion is totally fine because they should be using him more as a receiver anyway. Now, the problem is Vic Fangio's defense for Denver, and, this is the type of defense they run. They do not give up big plays, right? His entire defensive philosophy is do not give up the big play, do not give up explosive plays. Basically, the Giants will be waiting all game long, for an opportunity to give up to take advantage of a mishap in coverage. A safety rotating down to stop in the play action. Then bam, you have a guy up the seam. They're going to be looking for those chunk plays. They probably will not be there. And that is why I keep saying this is probably the best game for Evan Ingram to miss, because Evan Ingram is not going to be open downfield this game. They're going to have him locked up if he were to play. The Giants, however, are going to have a lot more success in the 0 to 10 yard range with guys like Caden Smith and Kyle Rudolph, who are going to be playing. And I think that they have solid hands. You're not going to be worried about the drops there. And that's where Evan Ingram struggles the most. So I think that, you're having to change your game plan to fit in a defense that is really good at stopping and mitigating big plays, explosive plays. And, in turn, you're going to have players that are forced to be kind of those curl and hook options. Evan Ingram, I don't want him to be that option. I want Kyle Rudolph to be that option. I'd rather have Caden Smith in that option. This is a perfect game for Evan Ingram to miss. And I think that a lot of I saw a Denver reporter come out and was like, oh, the Denver's Broncos defense has a lot easier coverage, I guess, matchups this week with Evan Ingram out. And I'm like, guys, you don't understand. You guys just lost yourself a free interception. Like, the Giants are going to be working in the middle of the field. They're going to have no choice but to throw short, throw 0 to 10 yard curl and hooks. This is just the reality of the situation, Anthony. But when you're looking at this offense, do you think they're going to have to take some shots? Do you think they can use this West Coast dink and dunk style? They have Saquon back, so it will help them a little bit. But I think Kadarius Toney is going to have a sneaky big impact in this game.
Yeah, I think he will, and I think his significant impact, might just come on special teams as a punt returner. I know that the Giants have been talking about getting him involved in that regard, and I think that's a really good way to get him involved. Just get him ramped up to the NFL speed. I mean, punt returns are really the most quick play, right? That's the most, you just have 40 people running at you, it feels like, right? There's literally 10 people just coming at you. You're the only guy who has the ball. You just have a couple blockers. I think that's a perfect way to get him acclimated to the NFL game, get him used to that speed. And so I do think he can have an impact in that way. Of course, on the offensive side of the ball, he is probably going to start his career out as a gadget player. They might have a few scripted plays to go his way, and I think that's going to be exciting because if he can hit on one of those, then that dink and dunk offense that you're talking about might become a bit more explosive if they can hit on one of those scripted plays to Kadarius Toney. So I do think that they go with that dink and dunk style of offense because of the reasons that you mentioned. And because if you watch the Giants last year, oftentimes they were very dink and dunk. Daniel Jones only threw 43 passes, 20 plus yards downfield. Compare that to a guy like Baker Mayfield who threw over 70 passes, 20 plus yards downfield. That's a huge, significant difference. That's like 3 extra deep passes a game. That's kind of ridiculous in some ways. And I do think that when you look at Jason Garrett's offense throughout the entirety of his career in the NFL, he's always utilized underneath passing concepts. And some of them have been very bland and very vanilla. And we've discussed that extensively on this podcast. And so has pretty much every other Giants content creator. We've all had our grievances with the bland, vanilla Jason Garrett offense. But going forward, in this game at least, and this is the week one of the regular season, you might have to be a little vanilla. Joe Judge has said that the first few weeks of the season are going to be viewed as an extension of the preseason. They're still going to be installing base concepts and getting used to playing all together and gelling as a team and creating chemistry. So I do think that the Giants offense might be a little bland. You might see a lot of underneath passing concepts. You might see 1 to 2 deep shots, which is pretty typical for the Giants offense last year. We're hoping to see that number go up as the season progresses. But last year, I think you're going to see the 2020 offense in 2021 week one, just because of the defense that they're going up against. Very strong defense. And also because it is, a whole new team. You got Kenny Golladay, brand new receiver. Saquon Barkley's coming back, but he's still not even starting probably. So you're going to deal with a lot of Devontae Booker. You have whole new tight end core with no what's his name? No Evan Engram out there. It's Kyle Rudolph and Caden Smith. That's brand new. This whole offense has just changed entirely. So they're definitely going to take their time gelling it together in week one. But hopefully by week 2, week 3, and definitely by week 4, they have to be on the same page. They have to be up to speed, and they have to start getting aggressive on offense and making some explosive plays. But I do expect Denver to limit the amount of explosive plays that the Giants connect on in week 1. However, if they are methodical, if they are clean with the football, that is the key in this game, especially if we're talking about playing a West Coast and dink and dunk style offense. You cannot turn the ball over when you're playing like that because you don't have any explosive plays to make up for your turnovers. So they have to keep the ball clean. Daniel Jones has to play a good game, has to play a smart game, maybe be a game manager for this one. And they got to be really careful with what they do with the football, because if they turn it over, even 1 to 2 turnovers might just cost them the game. Teddy Bridgewater, inversely, is one of those quarterbacks that plays that dink and dunk style offense really well because he doesn't turn the ball over at a high rate. Daniel Jones does. So that might be the difference in this game. But if Daniel Jones can keep the ball clean, keep the ball safe and out of harm's way, that could be what wins the Giants the game in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be about winning two things: turnover battle and time of possession. I say this every single week, all last year. If you win those two things, you majority of the time you're going to win the game. And the Giants are going to have a tough time. They need to keep their defense off the field and well rested. That's the problem. They need to get their offense to maintain the ball and time of possession, which means you got to get those first downs. And a lot of times they were terrified of throwing the ball to Evan Ingram in those stick routes and stuff because he always dropped the ball. But now you have some tight ends here who can catch those footballs and convert those first downs, and you have that big possession receiver. If you compare the talent that we have this year on offense compared to last year, it's not even comparable. I can't even say or compare them. Like, you look at you want your big possession wide receiver, right? A lot of teams likes to have a big possession receiver. Whether it's, you could even say Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins are considered possession receivers, but they have so much more to their name, right? Like, that's just part of their game. Kenny Golladay is a quintessential possession receiver. And I think the Giants having that element compared to last season, their only possession receiver last year was Austin Mack, in terms of size and frame. That was their big guy that they could throw to and be like, okay, he has a big frame. He can shield people off. That's the only one. Like, their speed guy, of course, you have Darius Slayton. John Ross is on IR, but Darius Slayton, same guy there. So, he is not going to have a lot of attention on him anymore, right? Because a lot of teams last year were having CB1, CB2s on him. You can't do that. You have to have your CB1 on Kenny Golladay. You need your CB2, or at least your slot corner on Sterling Shepard, and CB3. You have Darius Slayton there. You're going to have some good matchups. And then you got Kadarius Toney, who brings in an element that we haven't actually seen maybe ever on the Giants. He is such a unicorn. He's not OBJ. He's not Shepard. He's not Golladay. He's a kind of a mashup of like a bunch of different players. With the way he plays, the style of football that he plays. So I'm excited to see how they even get to use him, or like how they try to use him in pre-snap motion and quick routes and whip routes. They're going to really get creative with him, hopefully. And for the most part, he could do so much for this team that we haven't even seen before. So it's not even comparable. The talent differential. The offensive line should be better. It can't get much worse. I don't want to say that because then, we're going to be going from 31st in pass blocking to 32nd in pass blocking. So yes, it could get slightly worse, but God forbid that. It should get a little bit better at the very least. Even despite all of our question marks and all of our concerns, it should get a little bit better. So if that is the case, a lot of teams aren't going to be able to blitz all the time. They're not going to be able to send 6, 7 blitzers. They're not going to be able to play cover 1 and cover 0 because you have corners that will not be able to go up against Kenny Golladay. If you're 1v1 playing cover 0 with Kenny Golladay, just Daniel Jones, throw it as high as you freaking can. Kenny Golladay will catch it. That's why you have him. That is what he's good at. If you're playing cover 1, you have to just bait that free safety back there. Look to your right, look to Darius Slayton, come back across the line of scrimmage and throw it to Kenny Galladay, whatever it might be. They can obviously, you're trying to look off those safeties in cover one. Teams are going to have to play a lot more cover two, going to take guys out of the box, which means Saquon Barkley in the running game should be more successful. Play action should be more successful. Shorter route concepts, more successful on crossers. We know we want to see a lot more crossers. I think Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard on those mesh routes will be lethal. So I really am excited to see what they can conjure up here this upcoming season. If it's anything less than what I've just mentioned in the past minute, Jason Garrett should be fired midseason. Like you with all of those pieces and talented elements to your offense, if you can't figure out how to use them, you don't deserve to be an offensive coordinator in the league. Like straight up.
Yeah. And another thing that I'll add to that with Jason Garrett, why it's such a do or die moment for him, because there are two other viable offensive coordinator candidates on this on this coaching staff. Freddie Kitchens is a viable offensive coordinator. And then, of course, Rob Sale has been an offensive coordinator in the collegiate game for a long time. He could also be an offensive coordinator for the Giants. And I don't think Russ Callaway is really, a candidate for offensive coordinator. But if you want to take a dark horse shot, he could be a candidate. They have multiple guys who could step up here. I even think Jerry Shaplinsky, he might even be a candidate as well. I think that he's someone that probably some teams have given consideration to in that regard. I believe back when we were doing some research on Jerry Shaplinsky, I think he called some plays for New England at some point. I know obviously Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator, but I believe he had more of a say than just coaching quarterbacks. So yeah, they have some viable coaching or offensive coordinator candidates on this roster. So if the offense is not clicking by
Give me
week 8,
Russ.
yes, I want to give you Russ. I want to axe Jason Garrett and just go. Probably my choice would be Freddie Kitchens, to be honest, because I really like how downfield and vertical his offensive approach is. And he has had coaching experience, and he was a pretty good offensive coordinator for the Browns for a little bit before things staled out. So I don't know, at least for the final 8 weeks of the season, that would probably be my decision. But yeah, it's do or die time for Jason Garrett and the Giants offense. After watching that last year, watching them average 17 and a half points per game, that was just putrid. I think about it sometimes at night.
It
I go
hurts.
to the bathroom, I vomit, I come back, I go to sleep, I have a nightmare, and I just pray when I wake up from the nightmare that doesn't happen again this season. So that's what I'm hoping for a much better offense. And man, Jason Garrett, you just got to do better, man. If not, I really do think his job is on the line.
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing is, like, I'm not totally on like the you have to hire like an established guy thing anymore. Cause like you look at like Kellen Moore, no head coaching experience, like comes out of the woodworks basically, and they give him an offensive coordinator position. And he's an absolute menace. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you need to. I mean, I know you like Freddie Kitchens' scheme, so that's like a different type of thing. My guy is Russ Callaway. I think that Russ Callaway is going to be an offensive coordinator in this league, and I think he's going to be a freaking good one. And I think that it's going to be sooner rather than later. I think that Jason Garrett eventually is going to be a head coach again. I think that could be after this season. It could be after next season. But I think Russ Callaway is going to be our future offensive coordinator if Joe Judge stays here. If he does, I
I
think
think that's
so.
so bold. He doesn't have like any actual coaching experience. He's just an
I'm
analytics
telling you,
guy
man.
from what I know, but
Telling you,
I don't know,
man.
that's bold. Who knows? Maybe one day. I know LSU did call him their secret weapon. They were pretty sad to lose him. So he's definitely a smart mind, but he's going to have to do a whole lot of progressing in order to become an offensive coordinator one day.
Right, and
But
that's
maybe
but
he
that's what
will.
this time
Maybe he will.
is. That's what this time is for. Like this is what he's learning from Jason Garrett, learning from Freddie Kitchens.
Mhm.
Like I'm not saying right now he's going to be the coordinator, but I'm saying down the road, like he has now the experience from legitimate coaches, like you just mentioned, guys with a ton of head coaching experience, coordinator experience, actual playing NFL experience. You learn from those guys, and then you translate. You add stuff to your game plan. You add stuff to your book of knowledge, and then you roll it over. So I think that this experience now for him is essential, and it will provide him with the kind of that step forward that he will need to be when he takes over that OC job one day. He'll be ready, and I think personally, we're going to see it. Calling it now. I will clip this. That way, 2-3 years down the road, I'm like, I freaking knew it. As long as Joe Judge stays here, though, that's the contingent. Joe Judge has to be the head coach for him to be the offensive coordinator with the Giants. He could end up going to another team and being a coordinator or an assistant. I have no idea, but I really do like his mind. I think that we're going to see a lot more of a vertical offense. Maybe not against Denver because of the style of defense they play and mitigating big plays. But we're going to see it all season long. We're going to see a lot more deep shots. We're going to see vertical threats, and he's going to be a big part of it. Even if we don't hear his name, believe it. He is being a big part of it. So that's kind of wraps things up here. Last thing, little injury report. We kind of talked about it already. Evan Ingram, obviously, he's out for this game. Adoree Jackson and Kenny Galladay, or rather, sorry, Saquon and Adoree Jackson are both limited, are both questionable for the game. All of the other players, Kadarius, Galladay, Rudolph, are all active, right? They're all like established active players. Only Saquon, who we know is going to be playing, they just put him on questionable as kind of like a, I don't know, just being cautious about it. And then Adoree Jackson, also questionable. I believe he's going to play as well. They do need him because that wide receiver unit for Denver is no joke. They're going to need all the support they can get in that secondary. So that's kind of how the injury report looks. We'll give you guys any updates. I'll be tomorrow before the game, about 30, 45 minutes before the game. We'll do a live stream, talking about, what's going on, update you guys on any information that does happen live. And, we'll just get excited for the game, man. I'm so freaking excited to watch Giants football, meaningful football. Hopefully we walk away with a win. I'd be ecstatic. A great way to start the season. We haven't won a week 1 game since 2016. So I'm freaking hyped, my friends. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic Saturday. It's beautiful outside. Go out there and enjoy the weather with family and get ready for 8 hours of straight football, because I know I am doing nothing. My girlfriend has no idea. This whole season, she's absolutely ignored on Sundays. I have no responsibilities on Sundays except for creating content for you guys, of course. But make sure to go subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify as always. We'll catch you guys tomorrow for the first New York Giants football game, and have an awesome day.